Sylvester Stallone stood in front of the mirror at his newly opened Rocky's Warrior Yoga Studio in downtown Philadelphia, adjusting the red headband that kept his signature dark hair in place. The former action star had traded his boxing gloves for yoga blocks, though not entirely willingly. After his doctor warned him that his joints couldn't take any more punishment from heavy lifting and intense workouts, Sly had grudgingly agreed to try yoga. To everyone's surprise, especially his own, he had fallen in love with it. Well, his version of it, anyway. "Time to rock and roll," he muttered to himself in that familiar gravelly voice, eyeing the clock as it approached 6 a.m. His first class of the day would be starting soon, and he could already hear people gathering in the lobby. The studio's interior design was as unconventional as its owner. One wall covered with Rocky movie posters, another with traditional Indian tapestries, and between them, a bizarre collection of dumbbells arranged in a meditation circle. The first students began filing in, most of them looking confused as they took in their surroundings. They had signed up for Warrior Spirit Yoga at the newly opened studio, attracted by its promise of transformation through inner peace and outer strength. What they hadn't expected was to find Sylvester Stallone himself, wearing yoga pants and a sleeveless shirt that showed off his still impressive muscles, standing at the front of the room. "Welcome to Rocky's Warrior Yoga, ladies and gentlemen." Sly's voice boomed through the room, making several students jump. "Today, we're gonna find inner peace the hard way." He punched the air for emphasis, causing a few nervous glances between participants. "First things first," he continued, pacing the room like a drill sergeant. "Forget everything you know about traditional yoga. That's good for some people, but this is Philadelphia, and we do things differently here. We're gonna combine the ancient wisdom of the East with the raw power of the West." A young woman in designer yoga wear raised her hand tentatively. Mr. Stallone? I thought we were going to do some gentle stretching and meditation." Sly's face broke into that famous crooked smile. "Oh, we'll meditate all right. But first," he reached behind his yoga mat and pulled out a pair of 15-pound dumbbells. "We're gonna do some warrior poses while holding these babies. You want to find inner peace? You gotta earn it." The class watched in a mixture of horror and fascination as Sly demonstrated his unique interpretation of sun salutations, each pose punctuated with a bicep curl or shoulder press. "Breathe!" he shouted, holding a perfect warrior two pose while doing lateral raises. "Feel the burn in your muscles? That's your spirit getting stronger." Among the stunned faces, one student in particular caught Sly's attention, a stern-looking elderly Indian man in the back row, who was shaking his head disapprovingly while writing something in a small notebook. Sly later learned this was Mr. Patel, a highly respected traditional yoga instructor who had come to evaluate the studio for potential accreditation. As the class progressed, Sly's enthusiasm only grew. He led the group through what he called Rocky Road to Enlightenment, a series of poses that somehow incorporated boxing footwork. "Switch legs. Now punch the air. Feel your chakras aligning with each jab. This is not yoga." Mr. Patel finally burst out, standing up from his mat. This is, I don't even know what this is." Sly paused mid-pose, one leg in the air, holding a dumbbell over his head. "Yo, Adrian," he called out to his wife, who was manning the front desk. "Get this gentleman some water. He's about to see that there's more than one path to enlightenment." The first class was nearly over, and despite the unorthodox approach, something unexpected was happening. The students, initially skeptical, were now fully engaged, their faces showing the kind of determined concentration Sly had seen countless times in boxing rings and on movie sets. They were sweating, breathing hard, but there was something else. They were smiling. As they moved into the final relaxation pose, Sly's voice softened, though it maintained its distinctive growl. Close your eyes. Feel that burn in your muscles? That's your body telling you that you're alive, that you're capable of more than you thought possible. Inner peace isn't just about being quiet. It's about facing your challenges head-on and saying, I ain't going down without a fight. Mr. Patel was still shaking his head, but now there was a hint of curiosity in his expression. As the students filed out, many of them already signing up for the next class, he approached Sly with his notebook in hand. Mr. Stallone, he began, what you're doing here, it's unprecedented, unconventional, and completely goes against thousands of years of yoga tradition. Sly braced himself for the criticism he knew was coming. However, Mr. Patel continued, adjusting his glasses. I cannot deny that your students left this class with exactly what yoga is meant to provide: strength, focus, and, surprisingly, inner peace. Even if your methods are unique. Sly grinned, reaching for a protein shake he had stashed behind his yoga block. Yo, Mr. Patel, how about you join me for tomorrow's class? I'm introducing something I call the Rocky Mountain pose. It's like tree pose, but with explosive jump squats. Mr. Patel's eyes widened in horror, but before he could respond, the next group of students began eagerly filing in, many of them carrying both yoga mats and dumbbells. This was just the beginning of Rocky's warrior yoga, and Philadelphia would never be the same. Word spread fast through Philadelphia about the city's most unusual yoga studio. Within weeks, Rocky's warrior yoga had a waiting list longer than the steps of the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Sly's unique blend of intensity and inspiration had struck a chord with people who'd always found traditional yoga too gentle for their tastes. One morning, as Sly was setting up for his signature Champions Chakra class, Adrian rushed in with a concerned look on her face. Sly, you need to see this, she said, holding up her tablet. The screen showed a viral video titled, Rocky's Mockery of Yoga, a compilation of clips from his classes, overlaid with critical commentary from traditional yoga practitioners. Look at this charlatan, one voiceover sneered. He's turning a sacred practice into a circus act. This isn't yoga, it's yoga sanity. Sly's jaw clenched as he watched, but then that familiar determined glint appeared in his eyes. Yo, Adrian, remember what they said when I started boxing? That was just a bum. Well, they were wrong then, and they're wrong now. But the controversy was just beginning. Later that day, as Sly was demonstrating his latest innovation, the Rambo relaxation technique, which involved holding plank position while chanting motivational movie quotes, Mr. Patel returned, this time with company. Behind him stood Swami Yogananda, the head of the International Yoga Alliance, along with a group of stern-looking traditional yoga instructors. Mr. Stallone, Swami Yogananda's voice was calm, but carried authority. We've come to address the situation you created here. Your methods are causing quite a stir in the yoga community. With all due respect, Sly growled, putting down his weighted yoga block, I ain't causing no situation. I'm just helping people find their inner warrior while finding their inner peace. Perhaps, the Swami replied, you could demonstrate your methods for us? Show us why you believe this approach has merit. The challenge hung in the air. Sly's current class, a mix of bodybuilders, former boxers, and stressed-out office workers, watched the exchange with bated breath. Among them was Mickey Goldman, an 85-year-old former boxing trainer who'd become one of Sly's most dedicated students. You show him, kid, Mickey called out. Show him how we do it in Philly. Sly nodded, his expression serious. All right, everyone take a seat. Swami, you and your friends too. Let me show you something. What followed was unlike any yoga demonstration the Swami had ever seen. Sly began with his signature, Rocky breath, deep breathing synchronized with shadow boxing. But as the demonstration continued, something unexpected emerged. Between the unorthodox poses and motivational shouts, there was genuine mindfulness. Each movement, though powerful, was precisely controlled. The students' faces showed intense concentration, but also genuine serenity. "Now," Sly said, his voice quieter than usual, "watch this." He turned to Mickey, who had struggled with balance issues before joining the studio. "Mickey, show Anne your tree pose." The elderly trainer stood, and with remarkable stability, lifted one foot to his thigh, raising his arms skyward. His hands held small dumbbells, but his pose was perfect, his breathing steady. "Couldn't do this 3 months ago," Mickey grinned. "Could barely stand on one leg at all." Swami Yogananda's expression remained neutral, but his eyes showed interest. Mr. Patel was frantically taking notes. "You see," Sly continued, helping Mickey back to his mat, "this ain't about disrespecting tradition. It's about making yoga accessible to people who never thought it was for them. Yeah, we got dumbbells and motivational shouting, but we also got meditation and breathing exercises. We're just packaging it in a way that speaks to the warriors out there." The Swami stepped forward, studying the unusual setup of the studio. The meditation cushions arranged in a boxing ring pattern, the inspirational quotes in Sanskrit alongside Rocky movie posters. Finally, he spoke. "Mr. Stallone, your methods are unconventional to say the least. However," he paused, watching as Mickey demonstrated another perfectly executed pose, "perhaps there is room in the yoga world for innovation. But," his voice grew stern, "if you wish to continue using the term yoga in your practice, you must prove that you understand and respect its fundamental principles. What are you suggesting?" Sly asked, his eyebrow raised in that characteristic way. "A challenge," the Swami replied. "In 1 month, we will hold a demonstration. You and your students will compete against traditional practitioners in both traditional poses and your unique variations. Show us that your method has merit, that it honors the spirit of yoga while bringing something new. If you succeed, you'll have our blessing and perhaps even our support." The studio fell silent. Even Mickey stopped his practicing to hear Sly's response. Sly looked around at his students, the former skeptics who'd become believers, the warriors who'd found their peace, the traditionalists who'd discovered their inner fighter. Then he turned back to the Swami, his face set with Rocky-like determination. "Yo, Adrian," he called out, "clear my schedule for the next month. We got some training to do." As the Swami and his entourage left, Sly gathered his students. "Listen up, warriors. We got 1 month to prove that Rocky's warrior yoga ain't just some joke. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna push you to your limits. Some of you might want to quit. But remember what we always say in this studio." And the entire class shouted in unison, "IT ain't over till it's over." The challenge was set. The stage was prepared. And in the heart of Philadelphia, a new kind of yoga revolution was about to begin.
Tell us in the comments what part of this story impressed you the most. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next videos. See you in the world of incredible events.
Dawn broke over Philadelphia, and Rocky's Warrior Yoga studio was already humming with activity. Sly had transformed the space into what he called the Enlightenment Training Camp. Sanskrit mantras were now written on boxing training cards, and meditation cushions were arranged in circuits alongside yoga blocks and light dumbbells. "Today," Sly announced to his gathered students, "we're gonna do something different." He gestured to his right, where Mr. Patel stood, looking somewhat uncomfortable in sweatpants and a Rocky's Warrior Yoga t-shirt that Adrian had insisted he wear. "Mr. Patel here has agreed to help us understand the traditional aspects of yoga that we'll need for the demonstration." Sly's voice carried its usual intensity, but there was a new note of humility in it. "And in return, I'll show him how we do things downtown. The unlikely partnership had formed after Mr. Patel had made a surprising late-night visit to the studio the previous week. "Mr. Stallone," he had said, "your methods are crazy, but I see the effect they have on people. Perhaps we can learn from each other." Now, as the morning sun filtered through the studio's windows, the real work began. Mr. Patel led the class through traditional sun salutations, correcting alignment and explaining the Sanskrit names of each pose. Sly followed along, his face scrunched in concentration, as he attempted to soften his movements and quiet his natural instinct to shout encouragement. "Breathe like a gentle stream," Mr. Patel instructed, "not like a charging bull." "Yo, you heard the man," Sly added, lowering his voice to what he thought was a whisper, but still came out as a stage growl. "Gentle stream, not charging bull. Though personally, I've seen some pretty powerful streams." The morning session focused on traditional yoga, but the afternoon was pure Rocky-style training. Mr. Patel found himself holding lightweight dumbbells in Warrior II pose while Sly circled the room. "Feel that burn? That's your spiritual muscles growing," Sly encouraged. "Now, everyone give me your best victory mantra." The studio erupted in a chorus of "Namaste Wile," a hybrid battle cry that had somehow become the studio's unofficial motto. Among the students, different stories of transformation were unfolding. There was Sarah, a corporate lawyer who'd initially come to mock the concept, but now led the class in what she called "briefcase to Buddha" sequences. Tommy, a former MMA fighter, had discovered that meditation helped control his anger issues better than any therapy ever had. But it was Miki who showed the most surprising progress. The elderly trainer had taken to traditional yoga like a natural, his years of boxing experience translating surprisingly well to the precise movements and balance required. He'd even started teaching a special class for senior citizens called Golden Warriors. One evening, after a particularly intense training session, Sly sat in his office reviewing videos of traditional yoga competitions. Adrian brought him his protein shake, now with added turmeric and other Ayurvedic herbs, and found him unusually quiet. "What's wrong?" she asked, recognizing the look on his face, the same one he'd had before every major fight in his life. "Adrian," he said, rubbing his temples, "what if we're in over our heads here? These traditional yogis, they've been training their whole lives. We got people who just started months ago. Since when does that stop you?" Adrian smiled. "Remember what you always say about the world?" Sly's face softened into a smile. "It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward." "Exactly," she said. "And look at what you've already accomplished." She pointed through the office window to the main studio, where Miki was helping Sarah perfect her headstand, while Tommy led a group meditation session. Mr. Patel sat in the corner, simultaneously taking notes and attempting to incorporate small dumbbells into his own practice. The next few weeks saw the emergence of something entirely new in the yoga world. Under Mr. Patel's guidance, Sly's students mastered the traditional poses and breathing techniques. But they also maintained their unique warrior spirit, creating hybrid sequences that somehow managed to honor both traditions. The studio developed new class formats. Meditation boxing, where students practiced mindfulness between rounds of shadowboxing. Warrior flow, which combined traditional vinyas with strength training. And Rocky restoration, a surprisingly effective relaxation class where Sly would recite modified movie monologues in a meditation voice. "Life ain't all sunshine and rainbows," he'd intone softly as students lay in savasana. "But that's okay, because the darkness helps us appreciate the light, yo." 1 week before the demonstration, Swami Yogananda made an unannounced visit to observe their progress. He arrived during Senior Warrior class, where Miki was leading a group of elderly students through a sequence that seamlessly blended Tai Chi yoga and light boxing movements. The Swami watched in silence as Nikki helped an 80-year-old woman named Dorothy achieve her first unassisted tree pose while holding 1-pound dumbbells. The joy on her face as she maintained her balance was undeniable. Later, he observed Sly teaching an advanced class, noting how the action star had modified his teaching style. The signature intensity was still there, but now it was focused inward rather than outward. Students moved through challenging sequences with both power and grace, their faces showing the perfect balance of effort and ease that yoga masters had taught for centuries. As the Swami left, he paused at the door. "Mr. Stallone," he said, his expression unreadable, "I look forward to next week's demonstration. You have surprised me." Sly watched him leave, then turned to his students. "All right, warriors, let's take it from the top. Remember, smooth mind, strong body, warrior spirit." The class responded with a chorus of "Namaste Wild" that echoed through the streets of Philadelphia, turning heads and raising eyebrows. But this time, mixed with the power of that battle cry was something else. The unmistakable sound of inner peace being found in the most unexpected of places. The Philadelphia Convention Center had never seen anything quite like this. On one side of the main hall, traditional yoga practitioners sat in perfect meditation poses, their serene faces a stark contrast to the nervous energy emanating from Rocky's warrior yoga team on the opposite side. Sly paced back and forth in front of his students, wearing his signature headband with "Warrior Spirit" embroidered in Sanskrit. "Remember what we trained for," he growled softly, conscious of Mr. Patel's constant reminders about volume control. "It ain't about beating them. It's about showing them that there's room for everyone on the path to enlightenment." The convention center was packed. Word had spread about the showdown between traditional yoga and Sly's unconventional approach, drawing curious onlookers from across the country. Even a few of Sly's old Hollywood friends had shown up to support him, though he suspected some had come expecting to witness a disaster. Swami Yogananda stepped onto the central platform, his presence immediately commanding silence throughout the hall. "Today," he announced, "we witness an unprecedented event in the history of yoga. Two approaches, two philosophies, one ultimate goal, union of body, mind, and spirit." The demonstration began with the traditional practitioners. Their performance was flawless, each pose flowing into the next with supernatural grace, their breathing so controlled it seemed they barely needed air. The audience watched in awe as they demonstrated the most challenging asanas with seemingly effortless precision. Then it was Rocky's team's turn. Sly led his students onto the platform, beginning with a traditional sun salutation sequence they'd practiced countless times. The audience murmured in surprise. Gone was the brash, loud style they'd expected. Instead, they witnessed something entirely new. Nikki, now positioned at the front of the group, moved through the poses with a grace that belied his years, his boxer's strength perfectly controlled. Sarah, the corporate lawyer, demonstrated arm balances that combined power with flexibility. Tommy, the former MMA fighter, showed such peaceful focus during the meditation segment that several traditional yogis were seen taking notes. But it was during the freestyle portion that Rocky's warrior yoga truly came alive. To the shock of the traditional practitioners and the delight of the audience, Sly's team began a carefully choreographed sequence that merged classical yoga with their signature style. "Now!" Sly called out, his voice firm but measured. The team smoothly transitioned from Warrior 2 pose into a synchronized series of flowing movements that incorporated light weights. Each movement was precise, purposeful, and, most surprisingly, deeply rooted in yogic principles. The highlight came when Dorothy, the 80-year-old student from Mickey's senior class, took center stage. She began with a perfect tree pose, then slowly raised small golden dumbbells above her head while maintaining her balance. The audience held its breath, and then burst into applause as she serenely transitioned into a modified eagle pose without losing her composure. "That's what I'm talking about!" Sly couldn't help shouting, earning a stern but amused look from Mr. Patel. The final segment of the demonstration was something Sly had kept secret from everyone except his team. As the lights dimmed, his students arranged themselves in a circle. What followed was a moving meditation unlike anything the yoga world had seen before, a harmonious blend of martial arts kata, yoga flow, and mindful movement, all synchronized to a soundtrack that mixed traditional Sanskrit chants with the Rocky theme. When it ended, the convention center fell silent. Swami Yogananda stood, his face unreadable, as he approached the platform. The tension was palpable as everyone waited for his verdict. But before he could speak, something unexpected happened. From the traditional yoga side, a young practitioner stepped forward. "Master," she addressed the Swami, "may I try?" She gestured towards Sly's team and their weights. Then another traditional yogi stood up, and another. Soon, practitioners from both sides were mingling, traditional yogis curious about incorporating strength elements into their practice, while Sly's warriors eagerly sought advice on improving their meditation techniques. Swami Yogananda watched this spontaneous exchange with growing interest. He turned to Sly, who was helping a traditional yogi understand the proper way to integrate a light dumbbell into Warrior 3 pose. "Mr. Stallone," the Swami said, causing everyone to fall silent again. "What we've witnessed today is..." He paused, building tension worthy of a Rocky movie. "Not yoga as we know it." Sly's heart sank, but the Swami wasn't finished. "It is yoga as it could be, as perhaps it should be, ever evolving, yet true to its core principles. You have not diluted our ancient practice. You have added a new dimension to it." Mr. Patel stepped forward, his notebook finally closed. "I never thought I would say this, but... Namaste Wyo." The entire convention center erupted in laughter and applause. As the day wound down, Sly found himself surrounded by both traditional yogis and his own students, all eager to share ideas and learn from each other. Adrian appeared at his side, holding what appeared to be a stack of business cards. "You won't believe this," she said, "but we've got studios from across the country wanting to learn the Rocky Warrior yoga method. Even some places in India." Sly looked around at the scene before him. Mickey teaching a traditional yogi how to shadowbox mindfully, Sarah discussing breathing techniques with a Sanskrit scholar, Dorothy showing a group of young practitioners how to modify poses for aging bodies. His unique vision hadn't just been accepted, it had opened up a whole new world of possibilities. "Yo, Adrian," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "We did it." "No," she corrected him, pointing to where Mr. Patel was now attempting Sly's signature Rocky victory pose, while holding yoga blocks. "They did it." But this wasn't the end of the story. As Sly would soon discover, it was just the beginning of a much bigger journey, one that would take Rocky's warrior yoga places he never could have imagined. 1 year after the famous demonstration at the Philadelphia Convention Center, Rocky's warrior yoga had become a global phenomenon. The original studio in Philadelphia had expanded to occupy the entire building, with a special legacy room, displaying both the original Rocky posters and ancient yoga artifacts, a physical testament to the bridge that had been built between two worlds. Sly stood in his office, now decorated with both his action movie memorabilia and gifts from various yoga masters around the world. He was on a video call with a studio in Mumbai, where they were preparing to open the first international branch of Rocky's warrior yoga. "Remember," he was saying, his voice carrying the same intensity, but now tempered with yogic wisdom. "The weights are just tools. The real heavy lifting happens in the spirit." A knock at his door interrupted the call. It was Mr. Patel, who had become not just a colleague but a true friend. The former critic now served as the director of traditional integration for the growing Rocky's Warrior Yoga empire, ensuring that each new location maintained the perfect balance between innovation and tradition.
Sly,
Mr. Patel said, his usually serious face breaking into an excited smile.
you need to see this.
He handed over a letter bearing the seal of the International Yoga Alliance. The letter announced that Rocky's Warrior Yoga was being recognized as an official new school of yoga practice, with its unique methodology now being studied in yoga teacher training programs worldwide. But more importantly, they were inviting Sly to be a keynote speaker at the upcoming International Yoga Conference in Rishikesh, India, the birthplace of yoga itself.
Yo, Adrian,
Sly called out, his voice echoing through the studio.
pack your bags. We're going to India.
But before the international expansion could begin, there was something important to take care of at home. In the main studio space, Mickey was leading his now famous Golden Warriors class, which had grown from a small group of seniors to a full-fledged movement. The class had been featured in medical journals for its unprecedented success in improving balance, strength, and mental well-being in older adults.
Light weights up.
Mickey called out to his class of silver-haired warriors.
Remember what Sly always says, age is just a number, but spirit is everything.
Dorothy, now 81, had become something of a celebrity in the yoga world. Videos of her performing
Rocky's Senior Warrior Flow
had gone viral, inspiring thousands of seniors to step onto the mat. She was currently demonstrating a modified headstand while holding small weights, a pose that had been dubbed the Dorothy Dynamic in her honor. The studio had also evolved in unexpected ways. Tommy, the former MMA fighter, had developed a groundbreaking program combining meditation with martial arts, helping troubled youth find peace through movement. Sarah, the corporate lawyer, now led specialized classes for stressed-out professionals, teaching them to find their inner warrior during lunch breaks. But perhaps the most surprising development was the weekly
Unity class,
where traditional yogis and Rocky's warriors came together to learn from each other. It wasn't uncommon to see Sanskrit scholars practicing with lightweight dumbbells, while Sly's students chanted ancient mantras. As Sly prepared for his trip to India, he received an unexpected visit from Swami Yogananda. The Swami had traveled to Philadelphia to present Sly with a special gift, a unique meditation cushion embroidered with both traditional Sanskrit symbols and Rocky's famous silhouette.
You have achieved something remarkable,
the Swami said.
Not by changing yoga, but by helping it grow. Your practice shows that tradition and innovation can coexist, that strength and peace are not opposites but partners.
Sly nodded, thinking back to that first class a year ago.
You know,
he said,
when I started this, I thought I was just finding a new way to stay in shape. But it turned into something bigger than me, bigger than any of us.
The Swami smiled.
That, Mr. Stallone, is exactly how all great spiritual journeys begin.
Later that evening, as the sun set over Philadelphia, Sly led his final class before the India trip. The studio was packed with students old and new, traditional and modern, young and old. As they moved through their practice, the unique energy of Rocky's Warrior Yoga filled the room, powerful yet peaceful, strong yet spiritual.
Remember, warriors,
Sly growled softly as the class settled into their final meditation.
In here, we're all champions. Every breath is a victory. Every moment of peace is a triumph. And every one of you has the eye of the tiger, inside and out.
As the class responded with a gentle,
Namaste, yo,
Sly looked around at what his crazy idea had become. Mickey was helping Dorothy adjust her meditation cushion. Mr. Patel was demonstrating a new hybrid pose he created. Adrian was at the front desk, handling calls from studios around the world. And there on the wall, his old Rocky poster hung next to an ancient mandala, neither out of place, both part of the same story.
Yo, universe, he whispered to himself. I guess this is where I was meant to be all along. The next chapter of Rocky's warrior yoga was about to begin, promising new adventures, new challenges, and new ways to find strength in peace and peace in strength. And somewhere in Philadelphia, a boxer turned yogi had finally found his true path, one that led not to a boxing ring or a movie set, but to something far more powerful, the perfect union of warrior and sage, of East and West, of action and enlightenment. As Sly would tell his students in India a few weeks later, life ain't about how hard you can hit or how long you can hold a pose. It's about finding your balance in body, mind, and spirit. And sometimes you need a little bit of Rocky to find your inner Buddha. And that, as they say in both boxing and yoga, was just the beginning.
Tell us in the comments what part of this story impressed you the most. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next videos. See you in the world of incredible events.